Hello there, people and listeners of the Hungry Podcast. Today I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome Jean, Patrick and Julie Burmo. Have I said that right?
No. You've been practising, Dan, as well.
I've been practising this morning. Back onto the podcast. You guys have created something truly magical and special in the Cartford Inn. I've stayed here last night and it was so wonderfully intriguing and interesting. And there's so much I want to explore with you guys today in terms of just how you've created this place over so many years, how you've sustained it over so many years. So yeah, thank you so much for all coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the compliment.
So I want to start, it would be remiss of me not to start with David Bowie or Bowie. Is it Bowie or Bowie?
Both.
Both, yeah.
Any works for me.
Yeah, I think my mum's a staunch Bowieist, whereas my dad's a Bowieist. But I love David Bowie or Bowie. I think his music's insane. And I've seen it dotted. Like when I went into the room last night, I saw on my bed in the room Hope was the little David Bowie books.
Yeah.
And then as I walked into the restaurant, you see like pictures of him. I think you had a T-shirt on this morning with a bit of David Bowie. So it's literally everywhere. And then one of
Not doing your face though.
it's very subtle.
Very
it's
subtle,
little zigs
but
of it. Ziggy.
You actually haven't seen Ziggy yet, have you?
The
cabin.
The cabin. Yes, one of the huts is the cabin. Anyway, so I flicked through his book of quotes last night, and I thought it was really, really interesting. So some I would kind of want to use that as the launch pad to our kind of exploration. So the first one is, what I have is a malevolent curiosity. That's what drives my need to write and probably leads me to look at things a little askew. Now, this place, and like this is what I'm trying to convey to listeners when I came here last night, is it feels like a lovely pub, right? A lovely kind of warm country pub, but then it takes you somewhere else with all these little weird kind of intricacies. And I think you said, is it on your Instagram, quirky is the word?
Yeah.
Quirky is the word.
We did. We put that quirky word there about 20 years ago, didn't we?
Come a little bit closer to that, yeah.
Yeah, so quirky happened about 20 years ago.
And David Bowie is a kind of the embodiment of quirky. And I'm obsessed with
style.
And style. And yeah, I mean, there's infinite words you could put to his name. But I'm obsessed with people who look at the world very slightly differently and do things differently. That really intrigues me. What would you, to that quote, like, where does your curiosity, and let's start with the interiors with you, Julie, and we can get onto the food. Where does your curiosity and your way of looking at the world differently come from?
That's a hard one to answer, but I do remember I must have been 12, 13 years of age watching Top of the Pops. Mm-hmm. And it was 1976 and David Bowie came out. And I just went, wow. And it was his whole style. And he was just different. And then from that day on, I wanted to be different.
And what was the feeling? So you're 12 years old. What was the feeling in here when you see him come on stage? Because he was, as I've said, I only saw one picture of John Lennon, which we need to talk about shortly. But what was it about him? Because he impacted so many people. But what did that feel like in here?
I have no idea. No, absolutely no idea. But it's something very personal I have with him. And I don't particularly love all his music, but him as a person it inspires me from everything I do.
Mm. And what were the bits?
I became more obsessed with him since he passed away than I was before. And I've loved him all my life, but I became more obsessed with him when he died because I realised how much I missed him.
What did you miss about him?
His presence. Yeah, his presence. And
unique.
Yeah, and I went back to everything. When he passed away, I literally spent, the girls in the office.
We went to the exhibition.
Oh, yeah.
Went to the exhibition in London. No, in Amsterdam. Was it Amsterdam?
We went to a few.
Yeah.
We went to the.
She wouldn't leave for about 5 hours. She sat and just stared at this one outfit of his for.
What outfit was it?
Was it the blue suit?
Yeah, the blue suit.
And she just sat there and stared, and we'd sort of gone round about 4 times, and she just wasn't leaving. And then the next day she wanted to go back.
Yeah, but he had that palpable, like alluring kind of factor, didn't he?
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful person.
What was your favourite song?
Genie.
No, you are named after.
Genie, really?
I'm Jeannie. Yeah.
Are you a big? What's your?
I'm not as much, but I am. I love his music, and I love very often when I'm down, I'll put some of his album to lift me up, and what I loved about David Bowie. I mean, I was raised in France. Obviously, I'm French, and but he has been for quite a few years quite a big influence, both in dressing and
in colours.
And looking.
Whenever I'm doing a room up, I'll see something that is worn, or a colour, or an eyeshadow. It'll be something that inspires me to decorate the whole room.
Mm.
Or I'll say to people, they could wear something, I'll go, oh, did you get that colour from David Bowie? Because then, I know that he's worn that colour. And they're like, what?
Yes. It's mad. Like
I actually think everyone has this connection to him, but I think it's just me around
Ricky
here.
Gervais is obsessed. I love The Office. I think The Office is one of the funniest things in the world.
Oh, and my Sundance.
Oh my god, the English one, yeah? Yeah. So if people say they like the American one, I'm like fucking 2 minutes away from you. But yeah, Ricky Gervais was obsessed with David Bowie, and he had him on. He had him on extras. And he goes, he's playing "You Fat Little Loser." Yeah. Oh, that's so jokes.
If I'm ever feeling down, I put that on just to cheer me up.
What if you could? This is really interesting. So I ask a lot of guests, and it's almost with you guys it's the other way around. I was like, if your brand was a hotel, what would it be? I think it's a really interesting question. And what this marketing guy Seth Godin says is he was like, and it's if Nike was to create a hotel, you'd know exactly what you could feel what that hotel would look like, right? But if the Hyatt, the Hyatt hotels, was to create a trainer, you'd be like, what does that look like? Do you know what I mean? And I think it's really interesting. That's a really interesting lens to talk about brands. Obviously, you guys have created this. You've created something like that embodies a beautiful brand that has these links to kind of quirkiness and Bowie. What would you, if this hotel was one of his songs, what would it be?
Wow.
And anyone can take that.
That's a difficult one there. We might need our son Theo. He'll probably.
My brother is very into his music. He's got a Bowie quote on his arm as well, tattooed. I'm more of a Beyonce kind of girl.
Right. Yeah. Don't see any Beyonce on the around here, Jeannie.
No, I know. And so Bowie's such a big, part of our lives and my brother's life and mum and dad. So I'm sort of more into his style than I am his music, but I wouldn't be able to choose a song particularly that
I love, but I don't know if you really represent the business, but I love Wild Is the Wind.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it's actually not his.
It's not his song, but it's the way
I wanted
it
Jean to
sounded.
get married to that, and in the end she was saying, Mum, I don't want to upset you, but I don't
You like to come in a bit closer? Yeah.
I just don't want to get married to David Bowie. I was like, but why?
What does it's interesting because you guys are answering questions I asked loads of guests before I figured out to ask them. So the hotel's one. Yeah. Another question I ask guests is if you could have something tattooed on your arm, what would it be? So you've already beaten it. Yeah. What does he have on his arm?
He went and got a tattoo at uni, didn't he?
Where are we now? Which is very, very beautiful.
Where are we now?
The Black
Is that the name of his song, or is that a lyric in his song?
No, it's the Black Star.
It's one of these last albums.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Honestly, means the absolute world to me. I'd be so grateful for a small favour, please. It is so hard growing a YouTube channel. It is so bloody hard. If you please enjoy these videos, just click the subscribe button. more subscribers equals bigger guests equals better conversations, and hopefully you can learn more as you build your food and drink brand. Thank you so much.
Where are we now?
Teo's got odd taste in music.
Yeah. So why did so Julie, you said like you became more obsessed with him when he passed away. I find like almost looking at things, you only appreciate someone how the impact they've had when they're gone is the kind of.
It's bizarre because there's not a day goes by now where I don't think about him or I don't read something. I don't stop and look at a picture. You know, every corner in the pub, I think, oh, I'll just put a little Bowie and remind me of him. And I think, why did I not have that obsession? I loved him all my life, but
I think maybe you were too busy working. So when we initially bought the pub, Mum and Dad, I mean, are very much still here working every day, but Mum was like running the floor. She was like hostess with the most. The phone was in the bar. She was doing everything. So you were probably too busy, and now you're able to take a little step back and
the more
really
successful you get, and then the more.
Well, over the years as well, and later in the years, Julie's been able to buy a few limited edition pieces from Bowie, which right at the beginning of opening the business we just couldn't afford. And I think he became more and more prominent. I mean, we bought our first piece when we found it in London, but it was just a bit too much money. But then when we built the 2 cabins and Julie said, oh, why don't we call one of them Ziggy? And I said, well, that might be a good argument to buy that piece of art and put it in there. He had a meaning, basically. He was just not buying a piece of art, nearly that.
It was the Martin Richardson, the lenticular that he used on his Heroes album.
What's well, I don't know what that is, to be honest. I'm gonna have to. What I'm gonna do for listeners, I'm gonna write a newsletter because I've taken pictures of everything. Yeah. So I'm gonna put the pictures on the newsletter, and then this podcast will link to it, so people can get a visual of what these pictures are. So what was? I find it interesting people buy art because it creates some sort of meaning. So why that piece?
Because it's a lenticular of him and.
What's a lenticular? Sorry.
So. You know,
when you move, the picture moves with you.
It's basically got like thousands of photos within one photo.
And basically what he does, and it's in this beautiful blue colour, and basically he's just actually welcoming you into his world.
Oh, really? The bedroom, Bowie.
When you turn, you basically, it's quite
And it was
quite
one
special.
of 16 Martin Richardson's. He designed his album cover, Heroes.
What would you, if Bowie was to, say we could click our fingers and Bowie was to come here tonight, what would you cook him and what would you ask him?
I've never looked at what his taste will be, but I presume he was quite a very simple person. He probably liked Japanese food, so he'll probably want something quite light and creative, but I think he probably likes his British classics as well.
Don't we all?
Yeah, I think because he went to Berlin for a bit, didn't he? He moved to Berlin. I think
my son did one of his dissertations or whatever you call them at university on that transition from LA to Berlin.
Oh yeah, because why did he go to Berlin?
He developed a new character in Berlin.
He basically went to get himself clean.
Yeah, because didn't he say he had a diet? He was on a diet of just cocaine and vodka. I think it was.
Yeah.
He
went to Berlin to clean up his act, and he basically did.
Well, he didn't do it straight away because he wrote Low in there, and
that's probably my favourite album as well. Low.
Let's talk about the reinvention. I think that teases up nicely because
that's probably another reason why I'm influenced by him, because he reinvents himself. He reinvented it. Well, he's still reinventing himself now, isn't he? And
I did want to mention it. Is it one of the affinity with the business is that as a business, like Bowie all his life, people said he was always ahead of
the curve.
Really. setting the trends. I'm not sure if he was always the original one, because there was always someone in the background that might have done it, but he was the one to recognize that was the trend and make it out there to the wild public. But it's a bit the same with our business.
Credited that inspiration.
Well, he said one of his quotes is, and I actually, it was in the book last night, but I use this because I believe one of his quote is, "I'm a tasteful thief. The only art I'll ever study is the art I can steal of." And I believe, I wrote about this in my newsletter, I believe originality is an inside job. So curiosity and inspiration are an outside job. Mm-hmm. So you go and be like a magpie, take all these different things, and then the originality bit is what you do with it internally. And that's kind of what you guys...
And this is what we do.
Yeah, you've taken lots of different bits, and then you've just created this Cartford Inn, which is its own thing. Do you know what I mean?
I sometimes use him in marketing with social media. I've taken upon the social media for the last 20 years, and I use him a lot. And I'll say things like, I'll put quotes like, "He would have loved the inn." Because everything I do, I often think, God, he loved that. You know.
What would you ask him then if you could sit him here right now? You could ask him anything.
That's a hard question.
Yeah, I do ask hard questions. Sorry, yeah.
I have to think about that one, Dan. There's so many questions.
Fancy a giddy kipper?
Yeah.
Good opening starting point. We can come back to that. So, yeah, the reinvention piece is interesting because we were talking this morning, Patrick, over coffee, is in hospitality, a few kind of inflection points have happened, I think, over the last 10 years. And in fact, actually on that, the guy from Pizza Pilgrim said 2011 was like the equivalent in food of 1962 as it was in music. 1962 you had Beatles, Roses, all that kind of eruption. I think that's happened with food. So you had like Brewdog, you had Camden Town Brewery, you had Honest Burger, all these places that were like braising
Burger and Lobster,
which is that's something to be whatever. But
yeah, we've done a good Burger and Lobster now.
We used the idea, it works.
Well, there you go. Still the best ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And you put your own spin on it, but we're grateful to Burger and Lobster for inventing that.
Well, that's a delicious point you take the external inspiration, internal originality. But yeah, we were saying that there's a thing of chefs has now become cool. It's become cool to be a chef, to have lots of tattoos, to have the restaurant in East London, to wear the Birkenstocks, etc. And you see a lot of these places opening. They have tons of hype. And then after year 1, year 2, it begins to decline. Why? Because another place has come in town. There's another cool kid in town. What things that stick around for a long time, i.e. Bowie, i.e. the Beatles, have this ability to constantly reinvent. How have you guys, so you've been here since 2007 and it's still going strong. How have you reinvented? And I think the way to start this is like, let's go back to the beginning. Like, what did it look like right at the beginning versus what it looks like now? What were some of those reinventions along the way?
Well, we built a business that was derelict, really. Just before the crisis in 2008, 2009, freehold property. It was the next step in our life. We wanted a hotel. We wanted a nice...
Put our stamp on it. We had a little bistro before. Sorry, love.
No, don't worry.
Go ahead, love.
Go on.
You go, Patrick, and then we can get Julie's
So it came from the next step in our life, really, where we wanted a place that we could invest ourselves. We wanted a hotel. We wanted a good restaurant, a good bar. We used to have a business in the 90s that was very successful, only a small restaurant, but it was great. It was very trendy. We were very avant-garde at the time, bistro, French bistro. But this time we wanted something a little bit bigger with a hotel, but same thing, putting our creativity and having a good time in the business. So the property probably wasn't. It's because this was available and we had our eye on it, and because of its location by the river, and at the time there was not many gastropub or pub. It was just coming up as well. So we wanted to jump onto the trend really, and we got lucky. Eventually, we managed to get this property, and then we started there, and then putting all our expertise and creativity, the Bowie theme and the food, coming a lot from my past experience in France and around the world as well, because we traveled after I left France.
I think in the beginning it was food. It was food that brought people in, 100%.
Well, it was the best,
Patrick
is
the hotel.
a food and beverage genius.
Let's go there then, because when I was having dinner last night, I read on the. I basically been nabbing ideas as I was here. There's Pierre Kaufman's memories of Gascony. Yeah, let's talk, Patrick, about your memories of your early childhood with food. Where did you come from in France? And then, I think that would paint a picture of how he got here.
I was very lucky to be born in Bordeaux, in the Medoc area, not far from all the famous chateaus, Rothschild and Margaux and all that. And I grew up in a food environment where, we once every 2 months we used to kill the pig from in the neighbor's house, and my dad used to cook the black pudding and do the pâtés, and we used to cook with the link with North Africa as well. At the time, we used to cook the whole lamb.
Link with North Africa?
Yeah, well, my part of my family, my mum's family lived in Algeria and Morocco for a while, and they were into. We were cooking the whole lamb on the pit in the garden. I mean, I'm going back, like late 70s, early 80s there, and we grew up with, Bordeaux is a region of food really, with the seafood and the beef and all that. So I was very lucky to be born around food, and I always loved food. And then eventually I went into hotel and catering, and I did my training in the Bordeaux school, and then after that started traveling, and then I met Julie, and we carry on traveling. So we've got a lot of wealth of knowledge, both by obviously the roots, but also by the travels as well. So that's one thing that is very important.
Degree level.
Say again?
My mother used to teach degree level hospitality
at Blackpool and Fyle College.
Blackpool and Fyle College. So I kind of grew up with it I didn't have the food interest like Patrick, but hospitality, I've always loved hospitality, and I've loved to be in nice places and nice restaurants. But so it was kind of it came natural to me. I had a flair that I could make people feel comfortable. I know how to create an atmosphere.
That's the word I've been looking for since I've been here. Is flair. It's just a flair. It's like a panache that you can't touch it.
No,
do you know what I mean?
You can't give it to someone. You can't.
Can you? So I think like those little. There's a quote I love, which is "Perfection is 1,000 little things done well." I think it is that, and this is what I see here. Is you go around. There's like so in my room. The gnome that's going like that, like brilliant. But I'm like, I looked at that, genius. The cowboy boots with the flamingo in it, genius.
This is Julie's.
Yes,
this is
flair.
Julie's.
It's flair. I love it because it bends the mind.
It shouldn't work, but it does.
Work. But I think a lot of is you want to escape a little bit, and the beauty of this place is the juxtaposition of warm northern country pub, but then it feels like I'm on a fucking Bowie spaceship to Mars. Do you know what I mean? But that's beautiful. I love it, and I look like a freak. I've been taking pictures of everything.
Well,
I was going around last night. Everyone was like, "What's this guy doing?" I was going ding ding.
And I think one of the success of the business is the link of the two. One of the success of the business is the link of the two. I'm a very boring person, very conservative.
He won't never park on a double yellow.
But I think where my strength is...
What about a single yellow?
I'm very, very keen on consistency, and that's one of my priorities in the kitchen. Is it doesn't matter where you raise your standards got to be consistent, because I think the public are expecting, and that's where they return, because they know that when they come, this is the minimum they're gonna get. They might get better, but at least they're not gonna get lesser. And that boring, conservative consistency linked with a bit of spice and colour and I don't know how you call it.
Zhuzh, panache,
Yeah.
ziggy, jiggy, like that. I think ziggy, panache.
I think works. I mean, it doesn't work for everybody. Some people are very more boring than I am because they don't actually get it. But generally, it gives an interest and we're happy. This is what we want to do, and I think that's the great thing in hospitality. If you can actually be successful, but I presume it's like in every business, not just hospitality. If you can be successful, but also do something that you want to do and you like doing, you get a certain feeling of achievement, really. You're not forced to do it. I mean, you said that, your aim is to make a bit of money and do what you like, and that's what it's all about.
Uh-oh, I have just discovered a secret weapon. Please, please, please don't tell anyone. This secret weapon helps you get listed, stay listed, and most importantly, grow. This secret weapon is being used by absolutely banging brands like Bold Bean Co., Perfect Head, Neat, Trip, and Cheeky Panda. No wonder they're absolutely smashing it. But look, are you ready to get your mitts on this secret weapon and absolutely smash it too? I am thrilled, so thrilled to announce our brand new podcast partner, North Star. What is North Star, I hear you thinking? North Star is a monthly subscription to an online platform giving you access to category data, category insights, anytime, any place, anywhere. It's basically the Netflix for challenger brands. It levels the playing field. Why do you need category data? Well, the first thing is making your pitch speak the buyers and retailers language is so important. It's going to help you unlock more listings, unlock deeper distribution with existing clients, back the right NPD, and actually understand how your competition is performing. But the even better news, are you ready to rock and roll at your next range review? You no longer need to hire a full-time category manager. Instead, just parachute in North Star when your next Waitrose, Sainsbury's or Tesco range reviews coming up. They're your outsourced in-house partner. Save money. Their team will come in. They'll help you prep, plan and smash your next range review. I'm so excited to be partnering with North Star. Check them out in the episode description below. Delighted to announce the extension of our partnership with the wonderful Billy and Paul from Mackenzie Jones, but even more exciting, they have just launched a brand new brand as part of Mackenzie Jones called MKJ Ignite. MKJ Ignite is a recruitment firm which specialises full shebang focus entirely on challenge brand space. They work with some incredible brands: Lucky Saint, Good Race, Purdy and Fig, Hunter and Gather, and Real Superfoods. They can support with your hiring needs across all levels, top to bottom, junior entry-level jobs, all the way through up to MD and CEO level. So if you're looking for a field sales stomper, a sales wizard, an ops guru, a supply chain sensei, you name it, MKJ Ignite can help you out. And look, if you're looking to wet your whistle, ignite your curiosity, then check out the poddy we recorded with them back in July. Laden with wisdom, all about like do's and don'ts of hiring and like how to create the perfect job description. You will love it. I think yes, create the thing you want to consume. You are the audience. I think is something I like. So how were you G when you got it's when the pub was born, and like how did you find working with this is the first sort of family podcast I've done. It's interesting. So you got mum's flair, creative, dad doesn't park on double yellows.
I'm very much probably in the middle. I'm a little bit black and white, but at the same time I do have a creative flair. So I'm sort of in the middle of the two. But when my parents bought this pub, I was still in school uniform, I think. I was still getting picked up by the school bus.
Yeah, you were. You was in your last year of school.
Yeah, but the pub took over our lives, and it has done, and it still is, but it has always been family. So all the staff have always been family.
And Jean's job is to keep us together.
That's what I
Because
was
there's
gonna,
a lot of clashes, obviously.
That's what I was going to ask. That's what
We clash a lot.
yeah, but clashing is what you need. Clashing,
Yeah, of course.
clashing creates genius.
Yeah.
Of course it
Because,
does.
I know John Lennon and McCartney clashed all the time. Have you seen the Get Back documentary? Have you seen that?
I often run to Jean and say, Dad's doing... Mum, don't involve me anymore. I can't.
But what the so have you heard of Will Guardia? That he's got a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. So he was a guy he made Union Square in New York. It's a really good book. He made that became the world's best restaurant, and he's got a quote which is "Service is black and white, hospitality is colour." And you guys you actually just said that.
Yeah.
You literally basically said that. You're basically doing the podcast.
We would write a great book on hospitality.
What would you
That's
say?
one of those books we need to add to our list when we retire. You never get time to read a book in hospitality.
What would be another hard question? Sorry, I like asking difficult questions. But what would you say are some of your unique principles or chapters of that book? Would you say that are different to everyone else?
There's so much to it, isn't there? Yeah, above all,
Dedication.
yeah, dedication. You dedicate your family. You know, you really sort of sacrifice family life massively, even though every day
We see each other.
we see each other, but it's
We work as we see
prioritising
each
what's
other.
the most
You
important
never
thing.
stop working. I mean, the other day, my interest is design and creation.
Which is great because you have
so
it.
now we've got to a stage where we can spend upgrading the bedrooms, and that just does it for me. That makes me excited to think, we're going to do another bedroom up. And the other day I came downstairs with a lamp from our apartment that someone bought us, and I thought, that'd look great on table 12. I got the electrician and I said, just unwire the lamp, because it was fixed in the wiring. I said, just unwire the lamp. Don't tell my husband. But I'm taking it downstairs. I need you to come downstairs and put it on a table and fix it onto a table. And I come running downstairs with the lamp. And Patrick said, where are you going with that? I said, I'm going to put it on table 12. It's going to look great in that gap. He said, are we not going to have anything? I said, we've got everything. It's here. But, I can't, I think...
She took it out of their personal space. Basically,
And put it
everything
into-
in our personal space now
Is work.
Is work. So all of Mum's finest pieces of art and
They're around the
they're
pub.
all in the pub. It is our life. It is our front room. It's where we spend Christmas Day. It's the only day of the year we have together, and we have it in the pub by the fire, and we have a table set in the dining room.
But I have to add something. I'm more. This is the business, and this is my life. Julie's life is everything. It's she doesn't see the business as a business. It's part of her life. She wakes up in the morning and it's not work. It's she's a home, if you see what I mean. I don't know if you see what I mean. It's a very, very she feels very comfortable being in that life of hospitality. I've got to have a bit of a sanity of
But that's because you
of
spend all
working
day
in the
a kitchen.
business.
That's not your life.
Well, I
That's
don't know. I
nothing-
don't know if it's just about the kitchen. It was the same when I was in front of house or whatever. I need it, but this is personality. I need to be able to step out of it and looking at it from further, as Julie needs to be in it constantly.
Actually,
I
you actually said to me this morning.
Yeah, it's more of a personality
She said to
thing.
me this morning, she came up to me and she went, why don't you sell your house and move here? We've just had a baby as
Right,
well.
amazing,
So, and my
congratulations.
husband's also likes to be at home, likes to be in a town. She said, just sell your house. Just come and move here. You think how much money you can make on your house. And I thought,
Never get away.
That is the genius, though, because when I walked in yesterday, I felt like I was at in your home.
Yeah.
In your home, which is that is what you talked about earlier about, you know, you could write a book on hospitality. I think that is it's dedication is the starting point, but it's actually almost there's a thing I love, which is do what feels like play to you but looks like work to others. So it's like I love that quote because it's, of course, there's lots of
I do play all day.
You play all day, but it's work.
It's work.
Same, yeah.
And we getting to that stage now is the most exciting time of my career in the business because I'm able to do what I love. Whereas before we had to work. You know, I was waiting on tables, I was maitre d', I was bartender, I was bed maker. I mean, I am a glorified cleaner at the end of the day. I mean, I'm obsessed with cleaning as well. You know?
My mum, you get my mum.
People will say, "Oh, this is Julie. She owns a place," and I go, "No, I'm the cleaner."
So dedication's one. The Cartford Inn kind of book on quirky hospitality is what I would call it, because I think a lot of people should come here just to have their kind of creative things pulled at, is what I would say. What are some of the other principles you'd put in that book?
Well, I think you're saying creative. You've got to go back to that. It's creativity and uniqueness. Everything you see around the pictures, but every pictures have got a meaning, and that's what makes it. You might not know about it, but you know them two pictures over there. It's our nieces, and the reason they're there is because we've used them for labels for our wine, because they represent
Totti Blanc and Totti Rouge.
They represent. So we use everything. You know, there's certain things.
There's a story everywhere.
Yeah, there's a story everywhere. I mean, you've got David Bowie again there.
I was going to point out that we got this. So that piece we purchased in lockdown. So this room was we got this. It's my dog size. So this room in lockdown was actually our saviour, because we had to close the whole business.
Sorry, guys, coming closer. Yeah.
We had to close the whole business and run our whole business through that tiny shop. You've been in that shop, and it's tiny. And we had the whole of the Fylde Coast turn up because they love what we do here, and they didn't want to have to let go of that. So, you know, sort of every weekend we were selling, you know, takeaway food, everything that we make. We were able to keep, you know, the chefs working and baking and
everything we created in lockdown.
But this room was
everybody else's menu still in file.
This room was almost like a snake.
Dirty fries,
of people.
But, you know. Dirty fries and hot dogs, and
we sold everything we could, anything we could, we sold, just to try and keep ourselves afloat. So that picture there, we got this. It was made in lockdown because we felt like, you know, we really we were all together, we were working, and we've kept that there because, you know, it's a
this
symbol
room
of.
became literally.
There was a snake all down the car park through here into the shop and out.
It went all the way to the cabins. From every day, people were waiting to see what we were going to do. And it kept us. We survived because of it.
You've talked a lot about storytelling. I think someone who's got dedication, creativity. I think the other one is storytelling, because food, I think, is a story. Really, the dish you eat is a story. I think being in a place like when you go to a restaurant, you're kind of experiencing someone's story. The art is the story. What is the story you want people when they leave here to go and tell their friends or their family?
It's interesting. That's interesting.
Well, what would you tell from your name?
I know the answer to that, and I'll go, but I'd love to get it because I don't want to skew.
I think every person that comes here has their own story, and they have their own reason why they come here, and not everyone takes away the same story. They're able to create memories in different ways, I guess.
I would say, I mean, ultimately, it's hospitality, and we offering a room, an environment, but it's different than anywhere else. It's to a very good quality. It might not be the the best place you've ever been, or the best, but an overall experience. I don't know. It's a difficult.
I think the quote, "You've just got to go. I can't explain."
Well, I think what I would genuinely say, and I would say, like, your feet, let your feet be planted in like hospitality, warmth, in the warm surroundings of a pub. Let your soul be fed with great food, but then let your head go to fucking Mars with like David Bowie. Do you know what I mean? I think those three things, as what I've experienced, I felt grounded. Warmth and fed, but then like
I tell you what,
this is the bit I love, is like the craziness. Do you know what I
tell you what, there's a great quote that Julie.
Sorry, Julie's thinking now.
there's a great quote that you should tell to the people that we used to use in our old restaurant. That don't hurry, don't be happy, and don't forget to smell the flowers. In the way,
to quote him in the restaurant in our menu.
In the way that it's not just about, you're not just coming to, have a piece of food or something like this. I think it's about an overall experience. Take the time just to have a look at the painting there, and then, like you say, you enjoy it because you're actually interested, or you're led by them little details. There are people out there that have got no interest to see that the little flower is in a tin, or is in a quirky tin, or in a glass. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
The quote is, "You're only here for a short visit. Don't hurry, don't worry, and be sure to smell the flowers along the way." By Walter Hagen.
That's it. Yeah.
I think the way you do that is by doing the 1,000 things as like well. It's the compounding of that.
Yeah.
Because it feels it feels like sensory overload in a great way. It's like a sensory overload.
Yeah.
But up here, but then you can get away with that because you've got your feet and your soul are planted in the ground of a pub. That's why I think it works really well. I want to talk about your travels. And then we can get to how you guys met in Texas, Frenchman, Lancashire lass in Texas. It's always going to be a good story.
It's a great story.
So, where were you?
That's where the cowboy boots came from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They were part of our romance.
Oh, I don't want to know. We haven't even hit 12 o'clock yet.
In my hot pants days.
So Patrick, so you're in Bordeaux. You go to kind of was it hospitality school?
Yeah.
You finish there.
School,
then you go buccaneering around the world. Where do you end up?
Well, already through hotel school, I travel a little bit. I experienced Scotland. I experienced Gibraltar, which was quite an experience as well.
He waited on Elton John and
You waited on what? Sorry.
Elton John in Scotland.
and his wife. What was she called, his wife?
Anyway, we digress.
Rebecca.
Sorry, yes.
Rebecca. Anyway, that was part of one of the experience. So I travel a little bit during hotel school, but then after hotel school, I'm offered a job in Texas, which came straight away after I finished. So I go there, and this is where I met Julie. So very quickly we moved together.
Let's talk me through the first day you met. Exactly how that happened. Where was it? What did it feel like?
Well, I actually
and whereabouts
met
in Texas
her
was
before.
this? Sorry,
It was love at first time.
I actually met her before I
I actually phoned
we
him up
went.
in France because I'd heard this French
she wanted
guy
a special hat.
I wanted one of those French hats.
The Chartreux hats.
Another vision I saw myself in with the French hat, the boater with the black ribbon.
Yeah.
And then someone said, "Oh, there's a new French guy arriving." I said, "Oh, has anyone got his number?"
Wait, so you were in Texas already?
Yeah.
Wow. So how did you get to Texas?
So I got to Texas through my mum teaching hospitality, and one of her students went to manage a restaurant in Texas, who I phoned up one day and said, "Can I have a job?" So I really was bumming around travelling in... Not bumming around, but, I just wanted to get out of Blackpool and experience.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And he was the only contact I knew that my mum had said was one of her students. We became best friends. And still, he lost his life in COVID. God love him. But we kept in touch, and I'm still good friends with all his family. And yeah.
And he said there was a French guy come in.
Yeah, and I called up Patrick.
My best friend was already there.
Yeah.
And knew Julie. And
he gave me his number.
So anyway, so I brought the hat and...
No, but when I put the phone down, I did say, God, he sounds gorgeous. And charming. He had this lovely, lovely Queen's English. He was talking, and he brought me the hat.
Oh my God, I am so excited. It feels like Hungary is finally swimming in the big leagues. I can't believe this. It's absolutely mental. But delighted to announce that Big Fish, yes, Big Fish, are partnering with the podcast. Perry's been on the podcast 3 times. Listeners absolutely love it. Some of our most downloaded and cherished episodes of all time. But Big Fish are behind literally so many brands in your cupboard, in your weekly shop. Charlie Bigham, Year Valley, Tyrrell's, Clipper Tea, Goo, Rana. I mean, mate, the list is longer than the River Nile. But they also share risk and invest in brands that they really believe are a force for good. That are brands that they believe are going to be the next big thing, like Howder, the snack that gives back. But even more exciting news, Big Fish want to speak to the next wave of small challenger food and drink brands that are destined for big things, the raconteurs, the movers, shakers, buccaneering visionaries. So look, if you want to speak to Big Fish and just have a chat, get your brand in front of them, then drop me a message. My mate Louis from Local Beer, Amazing Beer, was in their office, aka La Fishbowl, last week chatting to Perry, Freddie and the Big Fish crew. So drop me a message if you would like to speak to them. Bowie, our beloved sponsor, are helping build the fastest growing challenger food and drink brands. Look, if you're a small brand just starting out and need your first indie stockist, your first 100 stockists to wholesale, Bowie are the platform to categorically speed that up. But if you're a big brand wanting to get bigger, Bowie are also insane. They make field sales marble smooth, silky slick. They're just epic. Ollie's been on this podcast twice actually. They saw a 29% uplift in sales when using Bowie to check major malt listings availability. Insane. 29% uplift by downloading an app. Insane. Lucky Saint, my boy Aaron Duff, who's coming on this podcast in a couple of weeks, he uses it to manage a team of 30 people, and Lucky Saint have unlocked 500 draft listings by using Bowie. Look, you've got to get involved with this stuff. It's absolutely insane, and it will categorically change your life. It's just the sickest platform. I use it all the time at Islands. And then what did you do on your first date? Where did you go?
Like water skiing.
Yeah.
In Texas?
We lived on a lake. Everyone water skied in Texas.
Really?
But all the staff at that place, you all ended up just crashing in.
Well, it was a big, how do you call it? Country club. Big country club.
He went to work in the country club. I was in a more casual dining. And that place, it was called the Boardwalk in Horseshoe Bay, has a stamp on this place because I loved working there and we all enjoyed it. We all had a drink after work. It was it was a great place to work, and we loved the manager, and it was just a great place.
What's
that
the stamp?
The stamp is on the staff that we employed, and
the staff we allowed them to have priority
the family
over the hospitality.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if your mum wants to come for dinner, they get the best table in the house, or
Oh, so your staff here. So, sorry, so the stamp isn't like a picture; it's like a way of doing.
The way of doing things. Yeah, I mean, for a long time we don't do it because things change, but for a long time, every Sunday night we used to have a roast with the staff, and we did a lot like a family. Certainly for the first 10 years of the business.
No more. We still do it now, but not.
I think it sort of got lost maybe during lockdown. That it never sort of rebuilt.
Nobody wanted
that.
Yeah, I know. We're going to get onto that because I think there is with all the joyous things we've been talking about. There's a dark underbelly to this as well.
But in terms of my life growing up here.
Yes. How old are you now? You're
31 now.
Yeah. So yes,
so it's probably about 16.
Yep.
But that's really. What I loved about it was that even though Mum and Dad had taken over a pub, it was still a family. So all the staff,
Jean's best friends are still best friends.
From day one, we had dinner together. At the end of service, and I saw them as my brothers and sisters, and I still do now because you have to. That's the only way.
And as people leave, they still come back, and we've created relationships, babies. We've got Cartford babies now from couples who met here. And that ethos is important, that your staff have that comfort. I mean, it's not for everyone. Sometimes people come and work here and feel, oh, this is a bit much. If you don't fit in, you leave quite quickly. It's not for everybody, is it?
Well, that's the point. The greatest things are not for everybody.
No.
David Bowie's not for everybody.
I mean, and sometimes, and especially now I'm getting older, I don't have patience for people who don't get it.
So what is it?
Us.
What is ours? Because I'm trying to, it's hard, these things in terms of brands have very strong values of like what they are and what they're not. But what I'm trying to get to what is actually the better way to ask that is, what are you not?
Well,
Corporate.
Yeah, we're not. We're definitely not corporate. Although I probably got that in my body, in blood, in some time. But
well, you're an expert with corporate hospitality.
Although I left corporate because I had enough of corporate though as well.
But what are some of the lessons you took from corporate hospitality that you applied to your own thing? Because I think...
Well, I was too creative to be corporate in many ways. And that's what I like. I think I like a certain aspect of the corporate world, but there's that lack of creativity that frustrates me.
Personal flair. You can't pick that up in corporate, can you? You get lost really in corporate.
Some places try and do it, and it's almost a bit, I don't know.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't really work.
I mean, we were talking about what it is, with the staff and everything. Just going back in the past of the business, a few years before COVID, we entered a lot of different awards, and one time I said, I want to, I'd love to win a Cate award. I don't know if you know the Cate it's one of the Cates. It's one of the Oscar of the hospitality industry. And really, I know that we're not really that sort of places that potentially could win. And anyway, I saw in the Hotel and Caterer magazine, I saw a thing about you can go into the Cates if you do this competition about best place to work in the UK. I thought, well, we're very good at that. And I've entered that competition. And we ended up being shortlisted. We
actually won it outright. No, we did pass it, but they couldn't give it to. We employed 40 people, and they had people.
Yeah, hold on. Let me finish the story, Julie. So
it's good
to
see the Cashley in person.
So anyway,
it has a lot of texture.
We did extremely well. I think we finished fourth in that nationally, which gave us an entry into the Cates, and we came runner-up.
Which we weren't expecting.
So we took the staff to the Cates and we went runner-up in the best. But then I got invited at the Dorchester to do a talk through and I was sitting with the Dorchester collection, two other large corporate, and there was about 40, mainly women, in the marketing world, and I was doing a speech there at the Dorchester. And that was probably one of the highlights, really, because the people were looking at me at the time, but obviously at us as a business, as
didn't want to go on the stage.
Innovative of the way we were approaching staff welfare, dealing with staff retention and things like this.
And those big
and they've copied a lot. They took that on.
They took it on.
So what were those, if you could boil it down to 1, 2, 3 things? What were they? So the staff roast is one.
Well, yeah, basic things like, staff. So empowerment as well, which I was really, this is something I've learned a lot in in the corporate world, empower the staff.
When you say empower, how
So
what do you mean by
empower, for example, I'll give you a very basic example of me being on the pass, not on the kitchen pass, but on the pass front of house, and I've got a young lad front of house that has got a problem dealing with a customer, right? Now, many people will say, well, I'll go and do it. So you can go and do it and deal with the problem. My way of doing it would have been to ask the question, what is the problem? Teach the staff how to handle it and let him do it. And that, to me, that's empowerment. There's more staff satisfaction in it, and ultimately a better efficiency in the business as well, if you actually teach that person to deal with it, because the next time that person is not going to come to me and says, what should I do? Or what are we going to do about it? They'll deal with it straight away.
then they can add their flair as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
They do it with their own personality.
And that's what you find in recruitment when you're recruiting. You ask certain questions and see what they're going to answer, and you know instantly when you meet someone if they're going to have that flair.
Well, Ollie last night, yeah, kudos to him. He was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And Danny and Matty, they're all absolutely brilliant. But the
And if you came on the weekend, you've got even younger staff, because we recruit from 14. We keep 2 14-year-olds, and then when they're 16,
They can do more. And
they go out at lunchtime, and people say, where did you get your staff from?
But then when they then go to
literally
uni,
nurturing from 14.
when they go to uni, those staff aren't then going, right, I'm going to uni, I'm going to get a job over there, see you in 4 years. They come home, they come home and work.
And also
this is a bit like a youth club for them. You know, if they want to stay up till 2 a.m, have a drink downstairs, I have no problems with that, because I enjoyed that in my first workplace in Texas, you know.
And also one of the key points as well, and this is where it's more Julie than one of the key points is, I was saying, it's more Julie than anybody else really, is on the way that you recruit the staff. We used to have, for many, many years, we used to have staff that one was a musician, one was was to become a doctor or whatever, but you let the staff be their own individual people, and that mix of how would I say, personality adds. Obviously there is a certain skills or certain approach that they need to learn on how, or certain values that they need to adhere to fit within the business, but remain their own individual people.
They're not robots.
I've always said to my staff, make sure you talk to the people. I mean, not everyone wants to talk, but the ones that want to talk, make sure you talk to them about yourself, because you just don't know who you're talking to. And they'll say, like, for instance, one bright young gentleman, young lad who was working for us, he was a science gene. He was studying chemistry. And we just happened to have a chemical company in the building. I'd like talk to them, and they ended up putting him through his master's and his PhD.
that's wild.
And giving him a job. So I say to young people,
That's happened a lot.
A lot of people have gotten jobs from the back of here.
Yeah.
And I say, talk about yourself, what you're doing, what you'd like to do. And it works, because you get these talented kids coming to work for you, and you know you can't, unfortunately, you can't keep them forever, because there's not the money in hospitality to pay top dollar. But
That's one of the good sides of hospitality, meeting people and
Yeah, because there's a lot of quirky ways on the exterior, but in the way you run it is really interesting when we're getting kind of deeper into how things, almost into the roots of the business.
Yeah.
A few things I want to go back to. So one is the empowerment and how to solve customer problems, and then we'll go there, and then I want to go to actually how you get staff to or members of the team to speak to people, because I think that's interesting. But with the empowerment piece, Patrick, so what is the art of dealing with like a customer complaint? I know that sounds like The Office, like there's a complaint I like to make.
it doesn't have to be just a complaint.
But like, how do you deal with shitty customers?
we're not good.
Tell them to fuck off.
Well,
is
I've
that?
done that a lot of time, but
Shall we tell him about the
Yeah, tell
time
him.
you
Tell me.
what I teach.
plates off somebody once and said, you
What-
don't deserve to be in here now.
What I give staff is first is confidence. It's extremely important that you've got to show confidence, because there's a lot of people out there that just playing with you. Really, they have no knowledge, and it's normally the people that have got actually no knowledge, but they want to show a pretension that they have got knowledge. And there's an easy way to go about it, is to be actually more confident than they are.
Do you need to go in there?
No, it's fine. Don't worry.
You sure? Okay.
So that's a key thing that I always say to them. You've got to be confident, but how do you get confident? You've got to show that you know what you're doing. So it's important for staff to learn certain things to enable them to be confident on the floor. And it might be things that they use with their personal knowledge as well. It doesn't have to be just purely hospitality, but they've got to show confidence. Because sometimes if you're in front of someone that actually got an agenda, it's a jungle, because if the person start taking the lead, you're never going to win. But if you show that confidence, then the weight of the power, and staff can do that very
Yeah, they
easily,
can,
but they've
especially
got to show confidence.
You make them feel secure that we've got the back, because at the end of the day, your staff are the most important. Without your staff, you're nothing.
But how do you do that? Because it's not easy to do. Because this is a lesson.
Well, you know
they're with them all the time.
We socialise with them, we nurture them. And the easiest thing in the world is to teach a member of staff of 16 years of age that are absolutely bricking it, because they're literally on show. I mean, it's a big stage, isn't it, at the end of the day? And they've got our product that we trust them with. And I'm always saying to them, whatever your expectations are, remember that mine are twice as big. So, and I trust you with that. So you have to give them that so they're careful what they do. But if there's an error, is not to scare them, to just teach them to say, I'm sorry.
I remember I worked at a pub once, basically the polar opposite to this, and I was absolutely shitting myself on the first shift. And the locals were at the thing, and they asked for a Guinness shandy, which obviously is not a drink. So I've poured a Guinness, and then put some lemonade in, gave it to the person. I was like 16, 17. And this South African guy goes, mate, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're a fucking idiot. All this. I was like, he goes, and I was
and
like,
then scared you.
Scared the fucking living shit out of me.
Never drink Guinness
sorry for my
again.
language. Yeah. And I was just like, you're a dickhead. And like every time I was in the pub, I was scared of him.
Yeah.
I basically just didn't rock up one day. I was a bit of a dickhead, but I was like, you're gonna fuck me about, I'll fuck you about.
That today, that's a classic example of bad operators ruining the industry. Because now, no fucker wants to work in the industry. We're not fucker, but
You can swear, yeah, don't worry, swear.
nobody wants to work in the industry anymore because of all these.
Sorry, yeah.
All of these bad
Employers.
that have ruined it for good employers, And we've influenced some great, talented staff. And we nurtured one young lady, and I said, you need to stay in this industry. You're so good at it. You need to get your own business. And we've nurtured a lot, and they've gone on to great. I mean, we have one young lady who now runs Steven Spielberg's yacht because of the Cartford Inn.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's mad.
And she's told him that.
And she comes back all the time.
And she's actually coming
She
coming
comes back
today.
all the time
She's
because
here.
she
just
loves,
texted me this
she
morning
loves
like,
the
are we
place.
having a catch up?
She's coming today.
Yeah.
So what's been the most, just out of, I find this hilarious, like what's been the hardest complaint you've had to deal with, and how did you deal with that?
It's not. I don't want to blow my own trumpet, Dan, but we don't get, and it's normally people that try to make something, because I always say something, and this is another part of the success of the business is that we live and breathe here. I'm on the pass most of the time, unfortunately, but there's no food that come out that is bad food. There might be food, and I appreciate it, that might not be to your liking. And when it's that way, I'm always prepared to replace it if you wish something else, and not even to charge you for it. But don't come to me and tell me this is not good, because there's no. It's my life. It's what I've been brought up with. I've not been brought up in eating bad food. I eat good food. And I don't pretend it's the best food in the world, but it is good enough for me to eat. It's good enough for my customer to eat. And so it's never, I always feel confident facing a customer and saying, look, you don't like it, not a problem. If you approach me the right way, I won't charge you for it. I'll replace it and I'll give you something else that you like better. But don't come to me and say. So I've never really.
What's the story about taking the plates away?
Well, it got to a stage where
early days that.
Yeah, but it was we got to a stage where we were really, really, really busy with. It was a really busy. We're not as busy now, but
it was like a tsunami every night,
and then you get the odd person that try to pretend that they know more, and the food is not what they want. So instead of saying, well, actually, can I have something else?
No, it was the seafood. They said
there's been a few over the years,
and they were larger than life customers.
So instead of arguing, I just take the plate out and say, well,
you need to
ask him, I think, to leave, and you don't.
Yeah, because you're never going to please those kind of people.
Yeah, you don't put so much of your life, and it's not. People might say, oh, it's a bit, how do you say, arrogant or whatever. But I don't think when you are and you put so much, it's not being arrogant. It's actually being saying, look, there's thousands of restaurants and out there. I say, if it's not what you want, don't come here. This is what we do. It's like people that don't like the picture on the wall. Well, if it's not what you like,
not everyone likes Bowie.
Exactly.
In the early days, if anyone, Patrick, we were so tired, constantly tired, just building the business. And if someone ever did upset Patrick, he would literally come out in his apron. And the staff would all go, oh, he's literally, they were like, put their head down. Oh my God, where's he going? Where's he going?
But I think it's important in the basis of probably of any business. I guess again, I mean that's all I've done, hospitality all my life, so I can't talk to any other business. But as I said to you, when we bought the business, we didn't look at how much money we were borrowing. What we would do, we were confident that we were gonna make it and be successful, and that confidence I think is important. And if you're confident you can't let the customer all the time telling you what they want. You've got to listen to your customer to a certain extent. But you can't let them deal. It's your business, and you've got to. So when someone comes and say, "Well, this is not good," then no, it's
about it.
It's the door. The door
service is black and white. Yeah,
is there. At the end of the day, we're not. There is. If a steak is overcooked, fine, there's a steak. It happens. It's a mistake or something. It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. Everybody's human. But if the food is no good, no, I'm sorry, it's not no good. Because
know your own product, haven't you?
we buy the best ingredients. We take care of everything that we do. So the food is not no good. Is that you don't like it, but that's,
see you later.
See you later.
So,
recently we had an email from a gentleman who booked a room. And it started off, he was very happy and looking forward to coming to spend time with us.
Yeah.
And then we had to give him some bad news that he couldn't have the offer he wanted on the day he was coming. He wanted a particular offer, but it wasn't on that day. And he started kicking off on email, being rude and arrogant and, oh God, if this has happened now, what's going to happen when I get there? I hope you're not going to run out of food. Really just uncalled for email. So I ended up emailing him saying, I'm really sorry. I don't want my staff. My staff are already being subjected to your emails, your negative emails. We try our best to make everybody happy, whoever comes here. I don't like your attitude. I'm sorry, your room, you're not welcome. You're not welcome. And so I stopped him from coming.
I love that, standing to your values. Let's talk about how you get your team to talk about themselves. I've never heard that before. And it's almost the whole kind of be of service to your customer. That seems really interesting. And what's the sort of the why behind it first?
Well,
and then what's the how behind it? Because
you have really interesting kids that are working for you.
Yeah.
And the clever, we're lucky in this area. There's a lot of creativity as well. So especially if someone's creative, I do like to employ people that do have skills. They may be studying photography and I like to give them a blank canvas for them to express whatever they're interested in life. We've even had staff's artwork and put it for sale. And
Craig this morning,
I actually went to school with Craig.
Yeah, he was saying. I think
since we were 11. Yeah, my oldest friend used to chase me around the car park. I always make a joke to customers that he's still chasing me, and he always jokes, "I'd have caught you if I wanted to."
But I think coming on what you're talking with Julie is that you embrace the quality of each staff that they've got. Is going to build their confidence, and that's what they're here for as well. Is when they come to work for us, we give them more confidence. Sometimes they're very shy. I mean, a talented musician that we had that worked for us like 14 years ago
around the tables
was very shy, but now he's the most
singer-songwriter, doing well for himself. And so we also have a young vet at the moment who's studying veterinary, and so we have quite a few vet customers. I always make sure that she's on the tables where the vets are and ask for some work experience. So I always say, use us as much as we're using you. A door may open for you. So we very much promote our staff and support them. I always say, don't ever just walk out, just come and tell me what you think you might want to do, might be able to help you. And we've helped all our staff get jobs and references. Still have staff now of 20 years later asking me for references.
Yeah, I'm loving going into the roots of Quirk, if that's the way of saying it. Is there anything else? Dedication, creativity, empowerment, actually staff telling them their story. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you'd add? Maybe another chapter to the Quirk of Hospitality book. That's definitely what it should be called. Hi guys, super quick one. So excited. Look, for years I've been badgering on about Hungry the podcast. You're probably bored to death. Thanks for putting up with me. But Hungry is also an agency, and we look after one amazing brand called Islands Chocolate. We've had a great time over the year. We've won listings at a load of wholesalers. We've won Milk and More. We've got our first grocery listing coming very soon, which is very sick. But what I'm thrilled to announce is Hungry is merging with HC Consulting. My boy Harry Clark and his wonderful team, he's an absolute G. They do brand strategy, new business and account management. But why I really love working with Harry and why we've got on so well over the last couple of months is Harry was actually the founder of the boozy isolate brand Pops. So he's been in the trenches, he's grafted his face off, he's had the sleepless nights, he's had the turmoil, he's had the triumph, he knows what it is to be a founder, he is a founder. And he's got a proven track record in grocery and out of home. Holy moly dips, the gut stuff, Savile drinks, Remio gelato. So if you're a brand and you're stuck, you're looking for new business help, you're looking to scale, drop us a message, we'd love to chat. Thank you so much. Back to the old episode.
I'm not sure. No, I think that's quite adhering, having values, and that's one thing that we've done, and that's another thing that I took from the corporate world, is setting yourself values, goals. It's a very corporate thing, but it does work because it does help you focus. The values that, when we created the business, I did a business plan and I put like you would do in a corporate
slow me down.
Like you would do in a corporate environment. I wrote a set of values that we obviously all light and adhere to, and if you focus on them values, I think it helps you focus on what's important for your business and not being drawn into something that probably you would not do normally, really. Sometimes business, because you lose focus sometimes of what is important and because you're drawn by the business. But if it's on black and white there, it just reminds you all the time, what sort of people you want in the business, how as the owner, how should you deal with those people
What I want to talk about is there's another picture on the wall. Sometimes memories sneak out of my eyes and roll down my cheeks. Love that quote. Love that picture. Again, we'll put this in the newsletter so people can see it. Doing this thing you love, this piece of creativity and storytelling and art comes with some hardships. What have been the hardest days, or maybe the hardest day on this 15 year? How many years is it?
Nearly 17 years.
30 years we've been in business.
Yeah.
Well. Talk to me about the hardest days. And I know. Well, maybe not COVID, because we're going to talk about Totty and COVID. So, but what have been the hard days where you just think, why the fuck am I doing this? Because I think people want to come into hospitality because they see the flair, the creativity, the ziggy room, the paintings, the gorgeous food, but there's a real dark underbelly to this as well.
Yeah, there is.
I don't know, for me, sometimes it's only because when you, it never lasts long. It never lasts long, that frustration or that, and I think most of the time when he appears is when you're actually tired and you're drawn too much in the business and you've not got enough time to step out and appreciate about what you're doing. And obviously with me and Julie, then the clash.
More with Patrick, because he's full on in the kitchen, and especially at the moment, because at the moment the state that hospitality is in is it's real and it's scary.
Why is it so bad?
Because the business model doesn't work anymore with hospitality. All those margins that we've worked with, they've all gone. They've just disappeared. Your 10% wage and your 10%, 6% electric, all those margins, they just don't work. Nothing adds up anymore. So you just survive it. You're just struggling and getting through it as best you can without any help coming forward from anyone, even though you're constantly begging for help. We write to the MPs constantly. We're doing everything to say, look, we've been in business 30 years. If you lose us, you're losing everyone, because we're good at what we do. We pay our bills on time. We do, everything that you're supposed to do in business, we do correctly. And we never struggled like this ever before. And we've been through how many recessions? 3, tough recessions. We've survived all of them, but this now is...
Yeah, I mean, we touch base then a little bit on... I think we don't want to be spending too much time because we don't want to be too negative.
Yeah, we don't want to be negative.
And draw a negative picture, but it is very negative at the moment with our experience. And unfortunately...
But you
he always go back.
A bit of David Bowie on you.
He always go back at the moment to well, there's two things really. There's obviously there is definitely a consumer change since COVID that making the business struggle, certain business models struggle a little bit more. But I think that is, you've got to adapt. Hospitality is one of them business that are very good at adapting. But there's one thing that you can't control is what the government control is, and this is where the business model doesn't work anymore. It's certain taxes around the business have become a burden. And as Julie's saying, the business model doesn't work. Before, when in the 80s, 90s, you used to say, well, take that product, time it by 3, put your VAT on, and you'll be all right.
No,
it just doesn't work anymore. It's because
your
certain, you've got to time it by 4, and you've got, ideally you would have to time it by 6. But that's another thing. The consumer, it can't pay. The more you're charging, the more you're putting prices, the less people you've got, and you're becoming. So it's a very, very tricky one. And very briefly, without going into too much detail, we don't want the government, like they've done through COVID, to throw money at us. We only want the government to touch certain things, such as the VAT.
We've given our life.
Such as the business rate and the VAT, which we know and we've learned through COVID, that are two elements that are a burden in hospitality, and will help the business model to make sense again. And yeah, if there is any, they don't seem to be listening, but if there's someone listening out there, there's no secret. I've got quite a bit of experience with Julie. You hear it from other people that I've got the same experience. You hear it from new people in the business. Those are the two things you need to touch, VAT and business rates. And it's even more evident when you look at Europe, where the VAT is so low, and because they care about hospitality. Does that mean that UK? I came in the UK as a Frenchman because UK gave me opportunities. But I have to be honest, I'm rethinking now what before I used to think it was the best thing I've done to have come in the UK. But now I look at it, and there's a switch really, and I don't know where that come from.
What's the government's? Why is the government? I don't understand the government's perspective as to why they're trying to strangle and squeeze and shackle hospitality.
The only thing I can say is...
Do you think we have money?
The only thing I can say is that they think that because hospitality is is very good at adapting, they think probably, we're going to adapt. They've done it over the years, they'll adapt again.
I mean, it's 38 quid for a fillet steak. Who can afford that?
And the rest, Well, it's £10 for a piece of meat. £10
That's
for
Lancashire prices. What is it in London, Well, they can afford it in London, though. The world's gone mad.
And how do you... We talked about work and play. We're kind of dancing between those two things, which is what I'm with this podcast. I think there's a Japanese phrase which is called I don't know, I'm not going to try for Japanese today, but it's a phrase when your work, your play, and your flow state all come into one thing. Which is amazing when you hit that, but at the same time it can be quite suffocating because you never stop you're always working, you're always here. How do you deal with that? Like the almost your work is where you live, your customers are here, you were up at 6 this morning cooking breakfast, I was with you last night till 9 p.m. That feels like that can be quite suffocating. How do you deal with that?
It's a way of life, Dan, I guess. I mean, for many years, I think it's finding that where the good things are. For many years, I always remember when my son was younger and used to have a game of rugby, for example, in the afternoon. Well, I might have got up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do breakfast, but I was probably one of the only parents on the field in the afternoon watching the game of rugby because my job allowed me
to do that.
Whereby some other people that have got a 9-to-5 job or whatever, they might not have been able to do that. So it's finding them bits and saying, well, actually, this is Do you understand what I'm saying?
1,000%.
So you've got to pick the good things of it and
You're
make
very
him,
good at that as well.
and make him
Focusing
be,
on the good.
and motivate you.
Little tiny, little small things like that will satisfy Patrick. For me, it's not enough. You know, I need.
What do you need?
It's never enough.
What do you
Never
need, Julie? But I have that with you know, the doing the podcast is, I have that a lot because there's a lot of I love this part. This is, I love doing this, the 2-3 hours, but there's a lot of the editing and all that shit. It just takes fucking forever.
Yeah.
But it's when I'm doing those hard bits that are just it's not even that it's just quite boring editing something, right? And it's there's back and forth. But I'm always have to think, well, I've got to do this. Like this has been an amazing 24 hours at this beautiful place.
Yeah.
But I
So
think
you
that
take those
But because I think it's any journey you're on with a business or brand, it can be so easy to get bogged down in the bits. But human beings focus on the negative as a survival mechanism. Like back in the day, even if you've got some food, you're thinking, fucking hell, where's the tiger going to be? We're default to look at negativity. And I think it stopping, and as you say, it's that pause of, I can see my kid play rugby, or I get to come here to the Cartford Inn. I think that's a really clever way of keeping the...
self-motivation, isn't it? It's that thing that is important. You know, I mean, and very often as well, personally, if I'm low, I look out there and I say, well, actually, I'm in a good place. You know what I mean? You know, there's people that are in a more...
Yeah, I think it's the one
And,
of the things I
and
like.
it's always, that's how I motivate myself when I'm low, you know, you've got them up and down, but hospitality can give you some amazing, we've done things, I mean, sometimes you go back in what you've done when we were young and we were traveling, you talk about travel, we didn't go too much about it, but we lived in the Caribbean. And
Whereabouts?
St. Martin.
Oh.
So, but you know, we've done things, I'm looking back and the things that we've done, we actually couldn't afford to do them because we've stayed in the best hotels and for free and this because of the job and that. And if we were to do what we did at the time, we couldn't actually afford the prices now.
It's a little bit of Caribbean in the bedroom.
So it's knowing...
Where's that? Where's the Caribbean? We'll get onto that. Sorry, yeah.
So you've got hospitality's got some amazing opportunities for people to. So we don't want to sound too negative sometimes.
But that's what I was trying to.
But it's important that you find that balance about looking at the positive, and because you know it's not easy, and we've always said to everybody, you know, don't go into hospitality if you think you're going to have a good ride, because it's not an easy ride, definitely.
If you don't love it, don't do it.
You know, every morning we get up, it's a battle. It's a battle with, obviously, to pay the bills. It's a battle with people trying to rip you off, such as the bank. Over the years, you know, after 2 years or 3 years of business, you realise your bank... You know, when we had MPPI, the bank were robbing you.
£165,000 back from PPI of the days when we had no
when
energy
we were
to get
starting
up
a
in the
business.
morning. We were starving.
So you've got these.
And
we struggling at the moment. We're struggling with all the increase. We're struggling to put 10% on a dish that we need to put in order to.
You know the new pay rise.
Just let me finish, please. Insurance companies. 25%. How can? But they've got you by the balls because you can't run business without insurance. Now your customer,
100% the insurance.
No, it's 25%, but that's big enough. But your customer, if he decide not to come, he won't come because he might have a choice. He might go to the pizza place down the road where he'll pay less money, or he might go to the supermarket, so he might not come to you.
His wife might have injectable marks on her face.
But the insurance company
definitely will. Yeah.
You've got to pay it.
We live in now.
So all
sat
these
at home with beautiful faces and nowhere to go.
Mm.
So all these, you wake up in the morning and you're battling constantly in business against things like this, and how to get your extra business and.
I think it's another reframe I do, and it's especially after speaking to Craig this morning, is it's even though it's every day's a battle, and it's same with this, like trying to get revenue and sponsorship for this. I had to pitch 30 people, and that wasn't even just sending decks. I was like, why the fuck am I doing this? And obviously it's now working, right? But even in that moment of time, I would say to myself, you could be doing the job like Craig, where you're so bored. I'd rather it's either battle or boredom, and I'd rather pick battle. You know what I mean? Every day of the week, and at least then you're in control of how you face it, and you come out swinging. Do you know what I mean? I love some of those delicate reframes. Let's talk about Totty, because I think, as I was saying before we hit record, like that, Selfridges would be gagging for that, and if everyone's listening to that from Selfridges. But it's a wonderful array of kind of, well, the Easter eggs look like something out. They look like David Bowie Easter eggs. If David Bowie was an Easter egg, it would be that.
We did a David Bowie Easter egg.
Oh, really?
In a competition, and it took
the ones with the colours, they look like David Bowie.
Yeah,
like,
well, the chocolatier one we did. The chocolatier, who made it, he made about 5 or 6 Bowie eggs first before we got one.
What did it have his face on it or something?
No, it had the bolt.
The bolt, yeah.
Oh,
it was fantastic.
they're so
hand
sick.
painted bolt.
Yeah.
It was this big. It was enormous.
So we talked about the hardships of hospitality, hardships of running this pub. You've also done a bit of a brand bounce in that you've kind of bounced across to a different category with the deli. Talk to me, not necessarily, I understand why it started. I never liked, as much as COVID was rough.
Well, it didn't start with COVID.
Oh, interesting.
No, it didn't start with COVID. Again, there's a story with everything in what we do. This little place behind there was our cellar. It was like an old cellar that we used to use, and we created a new cellar, a modern cellar. So we had this old building, which is quite a nice old building with a lot of character. So we thought what we would do, and then we thought, well, you could have put a hairdresser and get a lease or whatever out of it and get some money. But we said, we're going to do a deli in it. So we decided to do a deli, and then so we kitted out and blah, blah, blah. And then my daughter actually came with the name Taste of the Inn. And obviously Taste of the Inn, T-O-T-I, Totty. So Totty, Taste of the Inn. And then we played, and it's like
And
with
everyone
everything.
likes to wake up with a bit of totty.
I certainly do.
And that became when we say about hospitality and getting the good things out of it, that became the playground. So obviously there was the main business that you get sometimes frustration and blah, 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 but that became the playground. So we were very lucky. We had a business that was doing well, and then we started playing with that brand and with the different products that we were going to do. Chili jam,
We had a little
chili
coffee bar in
sauce. And then it evolved, and then a few years, 2 or 3 years ago, first COVID came, and then this brand helped us a lot, because through that brand we managed to sell a lot online.
It was like trying to get a ticket for Glastonbury when we put our totty brownies online. We were going, how many brownies a day were we making?
We were doing brownies, and they were sold in 2 minutes online. It was crazy.
And we could bake like 300 boxes, and we put them online at 6 p.m. and people were literally 10 seconds flat, the lot gone.
I love the name.
Yeah,
Totty,
it's
it's
great.
such a good play on words.
Yeah.
But so the Easter eggs, and I just think that the petit fours or petit fours, whatever, yeah, you probably castrate me for what I've said that.
Pretty for you, right? Yeah.
They're again overstimulation, but in a delicious way. It's delicious fun for my brain, and they like, it's the lips, the different colours. It's like, fuck me, it's edible. I love it. So you've got the Easter eggs, you've got these, you've got the brownies. Is this just still a playground, or what's the goal with it?
Well, we've got a set of products that we have set ourselves. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the other
I've seen it
things.
all, yeah.
We've got obviously the jars, we've got marmalade. So it obviously has got a relation with the business. So we've got a jam that we use.
Everyone who stays with us takes
jam,
a bit of totty home.
marmalade, chili jam that we use, hot sauce.
We use it in the kitchen as well.
We've created our own gin as well with a local gin company, our Toti gin, which again has got 12 botanical, and all botanicals are botanicals that we choose because the botanical that we like to use in the kitchen, such as grapefruit,
From the garden as well.
pink peppercorn, rosemary, things like this. And then the idea was to create different products that we could put in hampers to sell through hampers. So we've got
Watch
these,
out,
and
Fortnum and Mason.
we do our onion soup as well, which we're gonna now looking at repackaging. We want to do. So we still
Is it all
the
made on?
products are there.
All made on site.
All are made on site. Certain products are not made by us, but
We buy
influence
all the honey that's processed locally. We buy-
Chocolates are made by a friend of mine, a chocolatier, but obviously Julie and my daughter lead the way in terms of the creativity of. So, for example, the Toti Pride is something that they've developed with him. He's a very, very good
They're
chocolatier,
so
but
sick.
He's an amazing chocolatier.
yeah. So all the Easter eggs, for example, are inspiration that we give him of things that we want as a Toti product. And then obviously COVID, when we saw that, gave us the idea that maybe online could be something that
Have a
would
good
work.
presence.
But obviously we've got a core business, so everything is done
I
organically at the moment. But we're probably going to be in the next. We've put trademark application, which we are at the end of at the moment. We've got most of the trademark for all the products. We're still fighting for one or two, but I think we're going to get there.
I just
Probably
love
in
the
March.
name Toti. Is just to me does so. It's the play on the
Yeah,
words
the play on the
as a
word.
bit of getting a bit of Toti.
Yeah,
Correct.
Taste
yeah.
of the end,
We'll
but then the
use-
Toti, like the E, makes it sound Italian and premium and
and quirky, you'll see. Also.
quirky, gastronomique. That's the way of saying it. I want to wrap up and we finish where we started with Mr. Bowie again, or Bowie. We talked about the quirks in terms of how it looks, everything you've created, the flair, the roots of Quirk with the way you treat the staff, how the staff treat the customers. I'd love to actually get into the food. And I know Jean said at the beginning, like, people came for the food. Let's talk about how David Bowie reinvented himself a lot. How do you reinvent the food here to get people keeping them coming back, but still keeping your values and quirkiness? Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's a bit of I can give you a bit of a summary. First of all, it all come from the basics of French cuisine, obviously with the inheritance of my past in Bordeaux. I'm not someone that like blowing my own trumpet, if you see what I mean. I like to which probably sometimes is not a good thing. Because
You're good at blowing his trumpet. Bloody hell.
because
You're good at blowing his trumpet. Fuck me. I bet you are.
Felt for that. I didn't know what.
Open goal there.
what I find more and more, Dan, is that obviously that chefs and things now, it's all to do.
Sorry, I'm being distracted. Yeah, sorry, carry on, Patrick.
So yeah, we're saying French thing, but I don't like it to be purely the Frenchman, French food. I've always employed a British chef because we are in England, and I think it's very important. My chef that you met last night, Chris, I've been with us now 9 years, and he's a Lancashire, so he's a pure and bred from around here, which is important because therefore, there is a focus on local ingredients as well. He loves foraging, so we we forage some, like for example, now Toti's got a seasonal product, which is our wild garlic pesto. So he goes and get his pesto, his wild garlic, and he does an amazing wild garlic pesto. But in everything that we do, there's a mix of French technique, French food element, British as well, with some British classic, like you've tried our suet pudding yesterday. So British classic, but also going back to trend over the years. I've done things, and that again in the development of the staff, I think is very important. A few years back, I took my general manager to Copenhagen and Stockholm as well, and in order to experience the best places in the world, Scandinavian cuisine, different things, new things, to see new ways of cooking and things like this.
Patrick never has his head out of a book, a catering magazine or what.
So there's a mix, and
you
obviously
get inspired by other chefs.
Yeah. And
that's it. It's like David Bowie. The only art I'll ever steal from, the only art I'll ever study is that of I can steal from. Yeah. And when I say steal, it's external inspiration, curiosity, internal is
and this is what we try to do basically. Yeah. We try to use because we have got in our values as a business. It was always to try to help the local economy. So we try to use as many local suppliers as possible. From the last 17 years, everybody's doing it now, or everybody claimed to do it, but we have been doing it for quite some time now. And sometimes it does restrict you with the choice of product that you can get, but them products are fresh and in season. They're not coming from Peru or stuff like that. Then after, obviously, there's the chef, my chef, that is Lancashire, so there'll be a bit of a mix of local things as well that we like doing. We've got cockles, we use fish from Morecambe Bay, things like this. And then the quality and the standard of the food, that is very important, because as I said to you during the conversation, we don't serve bad food. There might be people doing better food out there. I'm not saying that, but the food you get there is definitely to a level that anybody could enjoy.
So that's almost, so linking it to Bowie, and so that's almost like the black and white. So service is black and white, hospitality is colour. Using that, the Bowie quote of the only art I'll ever study is I'm a tasteful thief. The only ever art I'll study is art I can steal from. Going to Copenhagen, reinventing that way, and that reinvents the menu.
Using the internet, Instagram, looking at things, but never copying. I don't like copying.
So how do you get inspiration but without copying? Because that's an art.
Well, this is the clever thing. Is you don't want, you get certain elements. You might use different ingredients. You might use a different presentation. You might, and you making some changes along the way, and you put your soul to it. You put your own thing, and that's it. Instead of saying, well, this is how he's done it, and I need to do it like that because that's the way it should look. And then trying to copy and not being able to copy, because there's no way you can replicate what a 2 Michelin star chef from Copenhagen is going to do. Unless you've been trained and worked with him, you're not going to be able to do it. So you don't have to be that pretentious that you can copy things. But inspiration, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point of looking but not copying. And I think it's when you go into the inside job, you'll never copy, because ultimately you can get 15 people to look at a Noma dish, for example. Yeah. 15 people, one from France, one from Lancashire, one from Surrey, one from St. Martin. Their worldview, their internal worldview, they may look at that as inspiration, but when they do the inside job, originality comes out. So I think that's fascinating. let's end with you, Julie, in terms of how you reinvent, because I feel like you constantly are tinkering, changing
Constantly.
things. Yeah.
Patrick says we'll never have any money because I spend too much on tinkering.
Where do you want to take this place, or what do you want to keep doing with it? Because it's beautiful.
Well, I just want to keep making it home.
Keep it. That's wild. It's so homely.
I don't think she's not expressing what she means there. What do you want to mean? That I think you want to see that you want to keep it in.
Yeah,
You don't want to be forced to sell it. Really, you want to keep it, but obviously keeping it has got a price. Is that because we're not getting any younger, and we need to have an exit strategy as well.
Could you pass it on to the kids, or is that too much of a burden for them, or have you thought about that? Or?
I don't think I wouldn't want to put pressure on them to have it, and also because we have built a family of staff, I think it would be more ideally a team of family and staff really.
Yeah.
But ideally, yeah, we would want to keep it and keep nurturing it, but without having us doing as much.
So you're not. So it'll still be your baby, but you won't be doing the feeding.
Well, in an ideal world, we'd love to be able to go and have a month's holiday, which we've never done in 30. We've never had a month's holiday. We've never had more than a week together since we've been in business. So in an ideal world, we'd like to be able to go and experience life a little bit and travel, and the staff have an interest, and then come back and I'll say, oh, I'm going to decorate bedroom 12 now.
I think that's 1,000% possible. I really do. I think there's a lot of I think this place is unbelievable. I think it's I haven't experienced anything like it. And
the children, I think, will always be around it. I mean, now we have our first grandchild, and yesterday was my day of looking. The day before was the grandma's day, and I literally saw the tulips and thought, get another day out of them. I'll just put fresh water and snip the stems. But there was hundreds of tulips, and I was babysitting. But I took him with me in the pram, and he held grandma's bucket, and he just loved me putting the tulip ends in the bucket and holding the bucket. And if you can create that from a young age, then you'll always have this cosy environment, won't you? And people were walking through the pub, and we still hadn't finished. We're still on our last vase of tulips, and there was a lady, and she was going to sit down, and we were snipping the tulips, and he was holding the bucket, and she just loved the fact that my grandson was with me helping me do the tulips. And so if you can involve your family forever.
Yeah. It's a tricky thing.
It is a tricky thing because
there's some days that you don't want to involve them because you don't want them
it's
to
too
be
stressful. Like some days, you were under stress. Like the other day, we were under stress, and our son, I didn't really realise he was listening. And then I said to Patrick, go and tell Teo, make sure he's not worrying. Because he, at the end of the day, you worry finances, don't you? And if your kids see you talking about finance, they'll start shitting themselves, because we live in the Cartford Inn, and we're all wrapped in clouds, we just have this idyllic life that customers say to us sometimes, you two need to get out from here and go and see the real world because we live in the Cartford Inn and everything's wonderful. Yeah. Teo's imagination of growing up, living in the Cartford Inn, turned him into...
Anyway, in terms of what you were saying about the place, ideally we want this place to keep
carry
evolving.
On, yeah. And I'd love to be 80 and...
Pottering around
yes. and saying...
Because I do feel that it is a special place. I feel that represents some people might call it an old style hospitality, but a truth hospitality where it's not just about money. It is only about money because we need to pay our staff as much as we can possibly pay them. We need to pay the government. We need to have a life ourselves, and we need to have a future for our children. But it's not for
that.
You understand? It's not like for the sake of a shareholder making more money and making more money on there. It's a way of life as well. It's building something that we feel comfortable to live in, and to welcome people, and for people to say wow and enjoy it like you obviously done.
The best feeling in the world is when and I love to sit in the garden and have a coffee, and people don't know who I am, but I love to hear people's comments. And you often hear someone's bringing a friend and they'll go, oh, and the owners do this, and just look at this, and they do that. Come over here and see. Yeah, so they've been themselves and they're bringing the friend, and you just think it's so worth it for that.
You've created your own. You've created, in my opinion, your own personal paradise.
Yeah.
Or minus there's a dark underbelly, but so if you can stay in your own personal paradise without having to, what's the word? Be doing it all day, every day. Like, you don't have to be up at 6 a.m. till 10 at night in the kitchen. Do you know what I mean?
And I think the word paradise is a great word, because having worked in the Caribbean, I also know paradise. Well, there is paradise, but there is a price to paradise. Yeah. I always remember I used to work and be extremely frustrated in that paradise. People go to the Caribbean and they see an amazing, beautiful beach and things like this. But when you actually work there, it's a totally different kettle of fish.
In what regard?
With what regard?
Yeah.
Regard that when you work in an environment in the Caribbean and you try to work towards 5-star standard. I was working for Hilton at the time, Conrad Hilton, and the people are lovely. My best friend is from St. Lucia, and he was my restaurant manager there, and he's still my best friend. But they are very, very, very difficult to work with because they've got their pace of work. So when you try to run a 5-star hotel with that pace for a European person, it can be quite frustrating because you don't see the thing differently. So sometimes what seems like paradise.
Sometimes we'd wake up in the morning and everyone was on strike.
And then, you've got strike because you've got this, you've got that. It's so paradise is a great word, really, because there is a price to paradise.
There's
really.
a price to paradise. Yeah. Let's wrap that up there. I've loved this. I've loved talking to you. I've loved. It was great to do it this way around. I know we were going to do podcasts and then have the meal and stuff. I think being able to experience it last night and then getting into the roots of Quirk I really think you should write a book on the quirks of hospitality. Because I think,
and we could tell some stories.
That's a good.
I think
angle.
Because I just think it's so. As I said, it's my feet and my feet are planted in the warmth and the coziness of a pub. Soul's fed with food, but then my head is in Mars, life on Mars, as David Bowie rightly says. So I think, it's been wonderful. And Patrick, Julie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you.